Hello, welcome to Master Your Energy with your host, Sara Wong, Reiki Master and Soul Advisor. This show highlights tips and tricks anyone can use to master your reality by exploring the energy all around you. So let's dive into your own frequency. Hello, good to be here. Happy Tuesday. I'm your host, Master Your Energy, Sara Wong, and today we're going to dive into the energy of the week. So this week we are gifted with a beautiful energy of the Virgo full moon. Now, if you're not familiar with astrology, it doesn't matter because this episode's all about energy and understanding ways to connect with what we're dealing through energetically in this world. So this week is highlighted in the energy of Virgo with the full moon. So what that means is this moon is illuminating anywhere in your life that's ready to evolve. Kind of sounds familiar to the last several weeks. However, this week is a little different. And for some, you might have experienced recent transitions, new beginnings, endings, whether that be clarity, whether that also be things moving out of your life and making space for the new. And in that energy, we're asked to really look at what's true for us. So, Virgo is the energy of independence. It's the energy of self individuality and asking ourselves, what is true for me now? And so this Virgo full moon for many could bring in earthy events that could really shake and rock your world in a new way. However, don't worry because the energy is also available of miracles and new beginnings. So, as much as there's a lot to sort through and work through in terms of asking yourself individually, what is true for me now? And how do I move forward from this new awareness? Energies of new beginnings, inspiration, and miracles are also very much a part of this week. So, this is a good week to really try something new. Switch up your morning ritual, your routine. Try something on that maybe you don't introduce into your day, whether that's what you eat, how you cook, or how you treat yourself. Doesn't necessarily need to cost money or be groundbreaking, but could be an opportunity to just explore something new. So, if you are feeling a little antsy, not quite sure where to put your energy, that's also the full moon energy coming in to shake things up. And this week is really here for us to see things in a new way. And I thought, maybe a good way to bring to life this energy is a quick story. So, today's story is actually going to be about an individual that grew up in the era of the Great Depression in the early 1930s and really was able to see reality in a very limited way, very limited in terms of the resources available, seeing his parents struggle, not having food. And this individual, he really came to the ending of his high school career right at the end of the Great Depression. So things were starting to reopen, kind of go on the upswing of things. However, there was still not that many jobs. It was really hard to find employment. And so, being a recent grad of high school, this individual searched the newspaper for a job opportunity and found one at a comic company called Actually, I'll save that just in case we have some people that might know who I'm talking about. So we'll continue on this story. So he found this ad in the newspaper for a comic company, and he decided, maybe this is something I can explore. And so he also had an uncle that worked there, which is probably why he thought, maybe I should explore this. Long story short, he got the job and would serve coffee, make copies, do copywriting. He would do whatever they needed. And within 1 week, this individual said, I would like a promotion because I know everything. And the two owners of this newspaper was like, well, in order at the time for the US Postal Service to mail out anything, it did require that this comic book would essentially have 2 pages of written copy. But none of the comics want to write it. So they're like, well, you seem eager and you know everything. So go ahead, write the 2 pages of copy so we can get distribution through the US Postal Service. And so this individual said, okay, I'll do that. And with that, he created the column and eventually renamed it Captain America. And in that, Stanley, in case you didn't know, went on to serve in the army, writing materials for soldiers, and continued on in his journey of writing comics and stories, and cultivated teams of inspiration artists, writers, colorists. And obviously, his life work is still here for us to reference. And the reason why I thought this story was very relevant, and obviously, there's way more to his story than just the beginning, but that's how he started, was this idea of, maybe I'll go for this. And fun fact is Stanley actually wanted to be an actor, but because he found this opportunity, he actually thought this would be his way into acting. He never thought he'd become a writer and do that for the rest of his life and creator. And the reason why I feel this story is relevant for this time frame is because A, he went for it. B, he was willing to do something no one else wanted to do. He saw it as an opportunity to share his work, to share himself. No one else wanted to write 2 pages of copy, but he saw it as an opportunity. And I believe that because of his outlook and because of his willingness to just go for it, he was able to say yes and give himself permission to explore something in a new way. And to me, that's what this Virgo full moon is all about, is what are we saying yes to? And even if it's opportunities that come to our way that feel like more work than what we need to do, maybe we can look at it as a way to explore it in a new strategy or a new opportunity that maybe we don't have to do forever, but we can try on and explore in a new way. And if you haven't noticed, Stan Lee's creations and work always, always had a team of creators, writers. And if you see a lot of his interviews, he'll actually talk about how one of his favorite things in life was to find all the people that inspired him and loved to create and create in like-minded ways. And forever, for the rest of his life, create stories together. And in that, of course, no one's perfect. There's always, the dark, the light. But the legacy he left, in my opinion, is the willingness to explore things in a way that felt suitable for him. And for actually being 1 week on the job to say, I know everything, I'm ready for more, also showcased that he was very aware of his environment. He was aware of what was being asked and how to do it, and also aware that he was ready for more. So where in our lives are we ready for more? And maybe not saying that either to ourselves or to others or to our employers. So this is a time to just explore for yourself. With this full moon, what can also be amplified is doubt, not trusting yourself, feeling lost, feeling confused, feeling like, oh my God, did I do the wrong thing? And the truth is, only you would know. And in my mind, there are no mistakes. And everything can lead us forward in a new way if we say yes, if we choose. And so on today's show, I thought, who would be a good guest to talk about the universe, bring in mindfulness? And of course, the first person that came to mind is my dear friend, Pagan George, a mentor of mine, someone who's taught me how to meditate on so many different levels that I've ever witnessed before. He's opened my eyes to spirituality and also the universe in ways that I can never forget. And so with my honor, I am so excited to introduce Mr. Pagan. If you're ready to take your meditation practice to the next level, then let me introduce my guest today. Pagan George is an alchemist of the universe. He's been teaching meditation and yoga techniques for over 22 years. He is very well versed in Qi-Gung, Tibetan Reiki. He attended the Berkeley Psychic School, knows Theta Healing Matrix-Energies, and a medical intuitive. Let's dive into our guest today. Hello, Pagan. Welcome to Master Your Energy.
Blessings. Hello. Hello to everybody out there, whether you're seeing me or you're hearing me. Hey.
Yes. So, Pagan, before we dive in, because you have so much knowledge, I definitely need you to have back on the show many times. But first, let's let everyone introduce yourself to Pagan, whatever story feels most available for you in this moment. Obviously, we know you have hours and hours of stories. So, in a nutshell, let's have you introduce yourself.
Always a difficult task to introduce myself, self being a construct anyway. So, well, I am a purveyor and player in the energetic field, and I bring the source knowledge from source and guide people to their own sense of what the source is. I'm blessed enough to call that my occupation, Jai Ma, but that's basically what I do. I do that with therapeutic yoga. I do it with Qi-Gung. I do it with a different set of modalities, which I've mashed, retread, and remixed into something that's completely mine. And yeah, that's what I do.
Yes. And you're also a teacher of 22 years.
Yes.
And I believe one of the most profound teachers I've ever witnessed and experienced. Can you talk about what that was, becoming a teacher?
Becoming a teacher, that's actually the longest job I ever held, and that I still hold. Becoming a teacher comes with becoming the teacher for yourself. It's finding your own path, finding, as I said before, that sense of source inside of you. In yoga, it's called the para atma that you're seeking. It's that piece of divinity that you hold. There's the individual divinity, and then there's the universal divinity. You guide yourself, clear yourself of all the impediments, all the obstacles, so that you can come into that state. And then, of course, the next step is to tap into that universal energy.
So let's go back to when you first learned how to do that. I know there was a certain specific event that happened in, I want to say, the late 80s. I think we should talk about that.
Okay. Well, the Harmonic Convergence happened in 1987. I remember. I was living in New York then, and I was a crazy, insane punk artist. And I was trying to find myself in the world through the medium of art and spirituality that I had been guided through since birth, and trying to find a balance there and have people experience that. And the Harmonic Convergence was an aligning of, I don't remember the exact specific amount of planets, but it was maybe 7 or 8 planets that aligned. And it was a great event that happened all across the earth. So people gathered at sacred sites. They gathered at the pyramids in Egypt. They gathered in Africa. They gathered in Peru and Machu Picchu, all around the world. And they all meditated at the same time, of course, different time zones, towards world peace and towards bringing that energetic frequency of the planet up, which we're experiencing now, by the way.
Yeah.
And that was a huge thing that happened. With that amount of energy being in the atmosphere, people were like, just exploding with energy. I was one of them. I had a massive Kundalini awakening. That's kind of redundant because all Kundalini awakenings are massive, and didn't know what was happening, though I had read about it. And I was working with energies I didn't even know I had. I was doing healings. I was creating events. I was diagnosing people. It was just an amazing time. I just didn't have a teacher. That's why it's important to have somebody there to guide you. This is 87, It was the beginning of the so-called new age movement, as much as I dislike that term, but there really wasn't a lot of reference points
Right.
where to tap into, especially since that Kundalini awakening happened because of my ancestral connections all the way back to Africa, which I had flirted with and grew up with, but didn't really investigate until I got hit literally like a lightning bolt.
So, for people who are not familiar with Kundalini energy and
Mhm.
Kundalini awakening, can you give a quick overview of what that is?
Kundalini awakening is at the base of your spine lies the most powerful energy that can be contained in the body, really right there. And it waits for it to be awakened. Now, yoga specifically is created to awaken that energy. Of course, there are many different types of yoga,
Mhm.
and all Eastern disciplines tap into that. They don't tell you straight out, but it's in there. It's in Tai Chi, it's in Qi-Gung, it's in a
Mhm.
lot of works. And once that energy starts to be awakened, it starts to literally rise up the spine. Now, there's the spine, and then in that spine is called the Brahma Nadi. Nadi being the energy line, Brahma being that state of godness, for lack of a better word, where you are tapping in to that deep, deep void that creates everything, is everything.
Mhm.
And that comes up your spine and it starts opening those energy vortexes in your body called chakras, right? And every discipline has it, from the African Ifa system to the Taoists have it. All these different systems have chakras. In America, they sometimes are called plexuses. Those nerve endings, they meet there. They meet there for a purpose, though it's never talked about in this society.
Mhm. Yep.
And it starts to rise up, rise up, rise up. And as it rises up, different things start to happen and you start to manifest different. In yoga, they're called siddhis, which are called powers, powers which are inherent in your body and consciousness, because the body comes in built in with everything that you need to transcend and self-realize, but you don't know it because you're never given the manual. And it draws up and suddenly things start to open, things start to change, you start to see things. I remember I was literally talking from my third eye to people
Yeah.
that were in my neighborhood, and they were responding to me not even knowing that they were doing that. And
Wow.
so that rises up until it crests at the top of the head and it pours out. Now, that can happen spontaneously, or you could have a dedicated practice towards it. Now, I had practice, and not the deepest of practice, but I was practicing all these different disciplines, from Zen
Mhm.
Buddhism to just meditating in the yogic in the yogic fashion. And again, I was born in this lineage which had it, and also there's so much backstory. I was sort of handed down this power by my mother when she transitioned, believe it or not.
Wow.
I surely didn't want to believe it until it actually happened. And then I was able to literally see, feel subtle energies and move them. And it was, yeah, that completely shifted me, to say the least.
Yeah. Wow. So, when people go through Kundalini awakening, what you're describing is their powers activate, and powers could be your intuition, your psychic
Mhm.
abilities, telepathic abilities. So, you could start reading people's minds. I hear that a
Yes,
lot from clients right now, actually. Like, I feel like I could read people's minds. Like, I
yes.
just know what they're saying, right? Even my husband, the other day, he read my mind, and I was like, I didn't even say that out loud. You can't get mad at me for that.
Morphic resonance. Yeah, because you're
Yes.
with each other and then you get into each other's morphic field.
Yes, yes, and that seemed like you were saying, I believe since 2012, Earth has been the frequencies on Earth have been increasing
Hmm.
every year at rapid speeds more than ever before, and in that is very symbolic and similar to exactly what you're saying, so I feel like a lot of people might be experiencing this type of experience in their own way as well.
Oh, absolutely. This is happening across the world too.
Yep.
When this situation happened, let's just call it a situation.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of people, whether they became discombobulated because they were so used to a routine, They had to be home, and it became either, there were so many things, like I talked to you before the broadcast, there were so many things that happened. There's a myriad of things that happened, whether people just couldn't take it and they dropped off the planet, literally, or they took it and hit these deep, deep lows of depression, or they started to sense that things were different because the energy was different, because remember, everything was shut down. Remember when all the animals started to come back to their natural habitats? That was amazing. And how the air in LA, I live in LA, was completely clear.
So
It was
clear.
a whole new world.
You see the mountains every day, not just on the clear days.
Right. People started to literally awaken. And some people got it, boom, right away. That's what happened to me during the harmonic convergence. So there's so much that's going on right now that people can relate to, because everything is accelerated. You have to know everything is accelerated. The Schumann resonance, the resonance that tallies what the energy of the earth is just crazy off the scales, more than it ever has been before. We're being hit by not sun rays. What are they called again? Now I can't remember. Solar flares. Solar flares all the time. Things are shifting.
Yep.
It's an astounding time to be alive, though it is a difficult time. So I advise everybody, cultivate a practice if you can. Please cultivate a practice. It will save you. Even the small, minutest practice. If you could just sit down in the morning, even for the shortest amount of time, just when you wake up, don't look at your phone, and just close your eyes. Understand that you're in this body now. Give thanks. See what's going on. And as silly as it sounds, set your intention, because everybody will start to hear that and go, that's so woo-woo. But that's true, because all the practices, Eastern practices, are about what is your intention in the practice. Is your intention to get worldly goods? Or is your intention to be one with Source? What do you want to gain from this? Because there's always something to gain when you're putting in the time, and you're putting in the time. And time is illusion, but you have to understand that inside of you is everything. Everything. It's beyond time, it's beyond space. So we're carrying around this magical vehicle all the time. And so I always say, when I teach, I'm just helping people remember. Remember their innate power. Remember how incredible they are, how connected they are, how all those powers that seem unbelievable are actually true and inherent in the human organism, except you were not told about it. Imagine if we would have been told about it. None of this that we're living through would have happened at all.
Right.
So,
yeah, imagine having a manual for here's how your energetic bodies work, and here's what you might experience, and where your intention goes, energy flows, and it's kind of the karmic footprint of the world, right? All these little nuances I think eventually learn when we're ready, and that's, to me, that's the free will, is the journey of unbecoming, and like you said, remembering. And the good teachers are the ones who hold the mirror up and remind you of your power, of your strength, and activate you through words, through remembrance as well.
That's what you have to do. It's not about me, it's about them. It's about who is in front of you, and whoever is in front of you is always reflecting something inside of you. You have to remember that. If you take one day and you go outside, notice who you encounter, and you'll notice aspects of you all the time, because you're constantly reflecting the world. It is not a cliche. It is true. And so I always call myself, I'm just the spiritual traffic cop. I'm like, go here, go there. There's a detour. Go over there. Oh, look at me. It's you. Keep going.
Yep. And it's so nice to have that level of wisdom and guide here with us. So when we get back from the break, we're going to go deeper into some of Pagan's journey working with students from all levels, people who are just starting out and people who are already very well integrated into their spiritual practice, but maybe ready to take it to the next level, which is exactly where I went when I met Pagan.
Mm.
And so I can't wait to come back after the commercial break and dive in even deeper with you to talk about other tools that people can maybe start to gain a relationship with and also explore for their own individual practice. So stay tuned. We'll be back right after the commercial break. And with that, this is Sarah Wong with Master Your Energy. All right, we are back on Master Energy with Sara Wong. And this week we are talking about the Virgo full moon and how it's really amplifying the energy of this week, which the Virgo full moon actually happens on this Saturday. So we're going to be feeling the energy all this week, building up to this full moon. And this full moon is going to activate us in empowering us individually and really asking us to move forward in a specific way. So, if you're just joining us live, today I have Pagan George, who is a meditation and yoga teacher for over 22 years and here to share with us some useful techniques on going deeper with our spiritual practice, journey, mindfulness, and so many tools and tips and tricks. So, with that, bringing back Pagan George.
Hello again.
Hello again. We are back. So, I thought it'd be really helpful for most to hear, about people who are just starting out with their spiritual journey, whether that's meditation, yoga, maybe just simple breath exercises. What are some tools or techniques that you teach people that are just starting off that maybe could be beneficial for today?
Sure. Number one on that list, you have to be grounded in your body. Nothing happens if you're not grounded in your body. Nothing.
So let's talk about that real fast.
Yeah.
What does grounded in your body mean? What does that really mean?
Grounded in your body is being aware of your body and having your spirit in your body. Our spirit has a tendency to float around, especially if we're depressed, if we're anxiety ridden, if somebody pulls ahead of you and cuts you off in traffic, your spirit jumps. You want to be inside because, like I said, nothing happens. You can read about all these amazing scriptures about self-realization. That will never happen if you don't start from this launching point.
So, what is one easy technique people can do to get in body?
The easy technique is just sit in a chair with your feet on the floor, right? You don't have to have a completely elongated spine, but just sit reasonably upright. And then just close your eyes. And then just notice you'll see the flickering of the outside world start to subside as you've closed the eyes. Because the eyes create your entire existence from the instant you wake up till you fall asleep, sending signals to the brain. And then you try to find the center of your head. It's about 1 inch up from between both eyes and about 2¼ inches back from the inside of the forehead skull. And you do this without efforting, without pushing, without grunting and sweating. It's allowance that will get you there. You're allowing yourself to be there. And then you'll notice the space of the skull. You'll start to notice the inside of the skull. I love how Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about the scientific proof of spirituality and working with the body and its energies. So if you want to think about from the center of the head, the space where you are in the inside of the forehead skull, the insides of the temples still in the center of the head, the inside of the back of the head, and then you look down your body as if your body were hollow. And from the floor of the pelvis, many disciplines have this, you just drop a tube straight through the chair, through the floor, through the foundation of where you're stationed, through the rock, the sediment, the lava, the water, down to the crystalline core of the planet. And then you just ground yourself. You'll feel it. You'll drop in. It's a dropping in of the spirit, where literally the breath starts to slow down. And you're creating what is known as heart rate variability. Now, if that becomes difficult, what you do is you allow that tube to draw up through the rock, the sediment, the water, the lava, up through the foundation, the floor, into the chair, into the floor of your pelvis, up through the lower back, and abdomen, through the rib cage, through the throat, through the skull, and up into the inside portion of your head, the upper skull from the inside. And then you just widen it. And then from there, you could just take a couple of breaths and just release any extraneous energy that you have. You just breathe, hold it at the top of your head, and then just let it go. Take one more. Breathe from the soles of your feet all the way up, and then hold it at the top of your head. Now just expand into that tube. Notice your dimensions. Widen in that tube. Keep holding, and then you let it go. Now you'll start to notice the space inside you easily. You've cleared all of that energy that surrounds you and that clings to you, either by looking at it, either by hearing about it, reading about it, being on cyberspace. All of it is energy. You have to come to grips with the fact that everything is energy. Mm-hmm. So that would be an easy, simple trick on how to ground.
Well, even you explaining that, thank you for taking us through the slowness of it. It doesn't need to be this rush of, okay, I need to go meditate and tap in.
No.
It's really, I love the calmness and the awareness and even just the hollowness. It's allowing like every time you speak, I just go in and, I think that's a good point is, when we're going through life and, like you said, our spirit goes in and out of our bodies all the time. And that's why sometimes we like, oh, I lost my mind, or what was I thinking? It's, like we're queen and kings of multitasking in this day and age.
Multi-dimensions.
And multi-dimensions and frequencies everywhere, right? And we're like, if we are energetic ninjas, by the way. So first of all, yes. Props to all of us for being here still. But we're energetic ninjas in the way we got to call our energy in. So when you taught me that technique, what I learned was calling my energy back.
Yes.
Because what I realized was my energy was everywhere. So I was trying to meditate with a fraction of my own energy. And once I was able to bring in my own energy and connect to just my source, my connection, that's when everything was able to open up on more capacities than ever. Visuals, all the sensory things, all the different clairs. And it's still, an everyday practice that I'm learning, evolving, incorporating. But I will say, like, that is exactly what I was seeing when you're going through that I would say discussion of how you ground energy and guide others is really calling our energy back to us.
Exactly. And you're clearing the space. Mm-hmm. Like I said, you're always collecting energy, whether you know it or not. You're collecting energy.
Yep.
From everything you encounter. Now, what should be in your space? Only your energy. That's it. No other energy. You could have your beloved next to you. And you know what happens? I'm sure people have experienced where they've lost themselves in a relationship, where there's no definition of where you are and where the other person starts. No, that's not helping anybody. You want to be a grounded, sovereign individual. Now, mind you, that is just the thought form, because there is such a thing as quantum entanglement. We are all one, definitely.
Right.
But you want to service this vehicle that you see in 3D so that you can transcend it and go beyond it. But you're always coming back home. Always coming back home. That is the gift of these bodies, of this life. There are energies that want these bodies and try so hard to take them. But it's about, that physical grounding in the body and clearing. I always like to give the example. Your body, and I think I've talked to you about this before, your body is like a black sweater and you live in a house full of cats. There's no way you're not going to get cat hair all over.
You gotta have some fur.
Right. You're going to have a lot of fur all the time. That's what your body's like all the time. So you want to go in there and start picking all that stuff away so that, you can have that nice sweater back.
Yep. Yeah. And, you talk about this is, yes, we can get lost in relationships, but I feel like most of us get lost in our job
Yes. So
and
many
our
things.
work, how it defines us, how like what we need to do for it. It's, and it's energetically pulls. Like I'm pretty sure all of us can relate, whatever job that is, whether you're, retired, that's still a job, you're still serving in a different capacity, or, you're stay-at-home mom, that's a job, many jobs.
Mhm.
So wherever you're at, it's getting you could easily get lost in
Yes.
that as an identifier or that
Yes.
as truth, like forever truth. And I believe calling back our own energy allows us to stay within our own truth.
Yeah. That's a great point, because especially now in this time of signifiers,
Mhm.
um, nobody's a label. Nobody's anything except pure energy. Why would you want to label yourself?
Mhm.
I mean, from the outside, it helps only a fraction. It's the energy you bring that goes beyond any label that could be adhered to you at all. And you want to be that way. You don't want, the instant you're putting a label, you're putting a barrier against how far you can go. We are
Mhm.
unlimited souls in this limited body. Why would you
Yeah.
want to limit it further?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing that we were talking about before this show when we were connecting is
Mhm.
transitions. And you
Mm.
mentioned in your life, you've only really have been witness to transitions and building a deep relationship with that. Can you speak a little bit about that? Because I feel like right now a lot of people are going through transitions, whether they're leaving a job, lost a loved one, or an animal, wherever they're at. There's a lot of transitions happening right now. So would love to hear your relationship to transitions.
Mm. Well, of course, it goes back all the way back to childhood, and my grandparents were part of the Puerto Rican migration in the 50s, and they had their not the cliche, they had their classic bodega grocery store.
Yeah.
And I grew up around that environment, but also you had people coming from this amazing island to this bitter cold and this strange land that didn't treat you the way you should. And so people weren't able to manage their energies. So a lot of them were transitioning early. And heartbreak is a real thing, obviously, because now we've realized, scientists, that stress is the great killer. You could have the best diet in the planet, but if you're stressed, yeah, it's killing your entire system. So as a child, I watched everybody go, from my grandmother, my grandfather, my uncle, my other favorite uncle, my aunt, all of them go all the way from my father to my mother. And this was constant. So I had this I had this relationship with mortality and who I was. And then also I was seeing visions on top of that. So I was understanding that there's a lot more going on than what was physically seen and touched. And of course, later on, as I got into energy work, as it transpired, you got to notice and understand that if there's a physical counterpart, there's an energetic counterpart somewhere. Just
Mhm.
like there's you here and there's you in all these different dimensions.
Mhm.
So there's everything really existing at once. And transitioning, you start to understand that it's really a step. And for, my favorite people that I grew up with that were ill, it was a release. It was a release from this hold of the body, which was now giving out, and they had done their time in that body. The body was now giving out, and it was the sweet release of going to another side. I mean, we're not taught about death and how that transition is.
Mhm.
And people talk about it, especially in different cultures. It's about like entering another room. And it is entering another room. I've seen it. I've seen it happen. I've seen good friends just completely leave their bodies as I was holding their head,
Mhm.
leave, like with the sweetest of ease. There's nothing to be afraid of. True, you don't have this physical reality, but if you want to create it, you will create it again. And you'll play out whatever you want to play out with. But you have to understand that that energy of that person, again, as cliche as it sounds, will always be around. You can tap into that energy all the time. How do I know that? Because I do energetic healing. Well, my team and I do energetic healings. My guides do. And it looks like I'm doing it. It's my guides that are doing everything. And I see people's parents, ancestors around the borders of their auras. And I see the connection they have with whoever's transitioned. And sometimes all it takes is pulling out and transfiguring that thought into something else, instead of a loss, instead of a great sorrow or trauma, into, oh, I understand. I now understand.
And I feel like with transitions too, it does cause an energetic, in my opinion, it's like a kind of like a Kundalini awakening. Every
Yes.
transition is going to create, for the individuals left that knew this individual and the individual that transitioned, every single person is now with a new frequency. And in that new frequency is the integration, which could show up as depression, sorrow, loss, mourning, happiness, joy, many
Yeah.
things, which is why I believe the grieving process is, there is no one way.
No.
It just like Kundalini awakening, there's no one way. It's awakening whatever energy is ready to heal, whatever energy is ready to bring awareness to. And that could take years, that could take, it's really up to the individual.
Yes.
And that's, when you were talking about all the transitions you witnessed, that's I was watching your energy of your life and I was like, wow, every single transition opened up a new awareness for you, opened up a new, even surrender in a big
Mhm.
capacity. So that is, I feel like, also very interesting to think about when we go through transitions, giving yourself that patience to say, like, even if it's a small transition, that maybe is not, I don't know how to say this, but like maybe, like you had a pet hamster and it transitioned, maybe it's not like, oh, earth shattering, but it's still a loss. It's still going to energetically affect you.
Yes. 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 Like I
Yep.
mentioned before, heartache or a breakup.
Mm-hmm.
Physically feel it in your heart. Why? Because you were plugged into that person, literally. And
Mm-hmm.
now you've pulled those plugs out. So now there are holes in your field that
Mm-hmm.
have to be filled. Now, how are you going to fill it? Are you going to fill it with loss? Are you going to fill it with victim mentality? What are you going to fill it? You're going to fill it with the thought of that person and how they've taken you to a new horizon, how they've opened up something in you. So when a loved one leaves, what did they give you? That is that loved one. And even the Bible says what? When there are 3 or more gathered, I am there. Something like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's all that energy creates,
Yep.
and you gather together and you could really bring in that energy of that person. And that person will contact you in different ways. But the thing is, you have to believe it. When I help people go through meditation and teach them about energy work, we have to go all the way back to all the no's they received as a child. Meaning, when they ran to their parents and they said, oh my God, you should see these angels that I'm talking to and playing with. And the parent says, no, that's not real. You've just closed down a part of them. When they come back and say, oh my God, I have this imaginary friend. And you say, no, you've closed down another part. When they go to school and they talk about things that they can't see and that science can't quantify, you're told no. So it's about opening, unraveling all those no's to understand that all that stuff was true. You did experience it. It was an energy and you were playing with them. And that's the biggest thing, is play. Don't be hard, contracted. Play, because that's when discoveries come. That's when the joy comes. And there's nothing more joyous than holding a body, like right now. Nothing more joyous. And then to be able to recognize and remember your inherent powers. Is there anything more joyous? To go outside and literally confess to your plants, or my tree who's in my backyard, who I call Shakyamuni, who gives me downloads, like
Yeah.
literally comes
Yeah.
into my heart space and just heals me. My Lord. Yeah. Only on this show I can talk about this.
I love it. I love it. And we all have our own relationship to energy. And obviously,
Yes.
you've cultivated and built a very strong relationship to everything here on Earth and in the galactic. So I think for most, it's just that reminder that, whatever tools you have to connect to yourself and, really your heart and allowing yourself to ground into that body and give yourself permission just to explore and maybe explore new ways. And I truly believe with all the new frequencies coming in, like we talked about, that these are new inspirations, new ideas. So one thing with the Virgo full moon this week is
Mm,
miracle energy is also very available this
mm.
week. So let's all open ourselves up to some miracles, finding our way each and every day. And with that, Pagan, thank you for being on the show
Oh, I don't
today.
believe
It
it's
was
over. I
such
have
an honor. I know, right?
hours left.
We will have you back on. I will definitely have you back on as along with your wife, Bonnie, who I love dearly. I can't wait. And, thank you for being you. Thank you for being here on Earth. And I'm sure, how can people find you if they wanted to reach out to you, connect more?
Okay, I am on Instagram, Pagan-esque, Pagan, and then esque, ESQUE. I'm on
Mhm.
Facebook, archaic Facebook, as Pagan George.
Yeah,
And if you hit my website, it is working,
good.
but there'll be stuff added. Don't hit it today, hit it tomorrow, and there'll be stuff to inform you on how to find me.
Beautiful. And I'll also add this episode and links to Pagan on the Energy House website as well.
Oh,
So,
thank you
yes.
for asking me on. This is so much fun. I don't believe
Yes.
it's over.
I know. It's such a good episode and so fun having you. Thank you for all your wisdom, all your tools. This is such a pivotal time for so many. So I'm sure everything that was shared, I'm sure there's so much for people to explore. So we'll have you back. Thank you so much for being
Yay.
here.
Bless you all. So much love.
Thank you, Pagan. And with that, I wanted to just add in a few extra tips just to recap. This is a week of really going inward and asking yourself what is available and really grounding your energy and exploring what is coming up because there's a lot of different polarities. And with polarities, it's important to give ourselves time to explore versus having to decide. And so, if anything, with the full moon energy, full moons bring intensity and can also bring illumination. And of course, this being in Virgo, it means business. And I think we're all ready to move in different directions. So, with that, you have so many tools to go inward and explore energy in new ways. And I look forward to connecting next week on Master Your Energy. We'll have more like minded guests and I'm so excited to connect every Tuesday at 4 p.m. here on KCAA. So, with that, have a powerful week. And thank you for tuning in. Those who watch the replay, those who are listening live, I'm just so grateful for all of you. And if anything, my heart to your heart, have a wonderful, beautiful day. Thank you for tuning in this week to Master Your Energy with Sara Wong. It is my true honor to be here on KCA Radio, 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, and 106.5 FM. The stations that leave no listener behind. And then you can catch me here every Tuesday at 4 p.m. And if you're also looking for more energy tools like crystals, essential oils, services to go deeper with your energy and soul purpose, please make sure to check out energyhauslb.com. That's ENERGYHAUSLB.com. This is Sara Wong, and it's been my honor to guide you through the energy of this week, and I look forward to connecting next Tuesday at 4 p.m. to explore the energy of the week, gather new tools, and connect with like-minded individuals. And with that, this is Sara Wong signing off. Have a beautiful week, and when we master our energy, we can absolutely master our reality. Have a beautiful day. And don't forget, when you master your energy, you master your life. And with that, I'll see you next week. Goodbye.